one subject, take one subject and go deep in that subject. The subject is small that way in terms of literature, in terms of number of regulations. The subject is very small, but in terms of content and in terms of complexity, it is very, very deep, and it is infinite. It is infinite, and so let's start today's session. And as I always do when we are starting the session, right? I just try to give you what is happening around insider trading regulations uh, in and around us. So just to give you few heads up, few items which are appearing in the news. One thing which Sunil ji also mentioned about yesterday's press release of SEBI after the board meeting, where they categorically announced that there will be changes in prohibition of insider trading regulation. And there will be four changes which they have hinted. One is with respect to SDD, the name of the person who is sharing that UPSI, and the nature of UPSI should appear in that SDD, which is very, very logical. And all good STDs should actually cover this. And Sunil has also shared that that is covered in inside lens. But it was SEBI probably felt it necessary that this should be incorporated in regulation because of WhatsApp leak case. In WhatsApp leak, who shared that information from those six celebrated companies is still unknown. SEBI could catch hold of only the people in working in broking community who shared those WhatsApp messages further. But who shared from the company, that data is unknown. And that's the whole reason for this SDD coming into picture. And therefore, who shared and with whom, both should come in SDD is the new addition which SEBI is proposing to make in insider trading regulation. They have also talked about automation of a process of filing disclosure to stock exchange. As we know, under insider trading regulation, there are at three levels that submissions happen. One is disclosure under Regulation 7, which goes to stock exchange. One is intimation about change in two level below CEO and MD, which we have to do, which every listed company has to do within 2 days of any change. And that updation goes not to stock exchange, not to SEBI, it goes to depositories. And third is whenever there is any violation of code of conduct and company observes that, then the company has to report about it to SEBI. And similarly, even informant disclosures goes to SEBI. So there are three levels: stock exchange, depository, and SEBI. Out of that stock exchange piece, SEBI is saying that we want to automate. Now, what is meant by automate, we will come to know only when the regulations come. But probably they mean XBRL. Uh, Today, there is a PDF version of the declaration or disclosure, which gets uploaded on the stock exchange website. Probably they mean XBRL. This is my guess. One more change which they have suggested is certain items SEBI wants to exempt from window closure requirements. So SEBI has already exempted ESOP. SEBI has already exempted pledge. SEBI has already exempted all the regulated transactions with respect to acquisition of shares or surrendering of shares. For example, right issue, public issue, that is FPO, or any such type of issue, offer for sale, ESOP, preferential allotment, conversion of warrants into shares under preferential allotment regulation, delisting, takeovers, buyback, all of that, which are regulated, they have anyway exempted from window closure requirement. SEBI now wants to probably extend this to further more some transactions, which will be allowed even during window closure. And the last change with respect to insider trading change is with respect to penalty. That is, whenever there is a violation of code, companies have been taking action, and about the default and about the action taken and the reason for the action taken, companies have been reporting to SEBI in the prescribed form, as we know. Now, when company has been charging penalty or whenever company is disgorging profit, where do they deposit that money? That was the question. With respect to contra trades and disgorgement of profit, the answer was very, very clear and was stipulated under Schedule B itself that the disgorged profit will go to IPEF, Investor Protection Education Fund. This is SEBI's fund. IEPF is Companies Act MCA fund. So investor protection education fund, that was clear. But wherever company has levied penalty, not with respect to contra trade, but maybe because of somebody traded during window closure, or somebody traded without pre-clearance, or somebody has not given information which a designated person has to give. Such type of violations of code, if company levies a penalty, then where does that money has to go? Whether the company can retain that money or company has to deposit to IPEF, and there was a lot of discussion on this forum. Also, we had discussed this point, and at that time also we had opined that the money has to go to IPEF because uh, company cannot be beneficiary for your own employees dealing in the shares. Am I audible? Yeah, I think there was some network issue in between.
No, you're perfectly audible. At least
Okay.
I can hear you.
Yeah, thanks.
No, you are audible, Makranji.
Yeah. So now that dust is settled, we had also seen in Kiran Mazumdar Shaw case where Infosys suggested to Kiran Mazumdar that this is a 9 lakh penalty which we want to levy you for dealing in inside trading in the shares of Infosys while the window was closed. And the option was given to Kiran Mazumdar Shaw that whichever NGOs you feel appropriate, you can donate that fund to the NGO because SEBI had not stipulated where the money should go. So now in yesterday's amendment, they have clearly categorically said that the money has to go to IPEF. So now with the regulations will follow, and it may take a little while, but even from now onwards, so we can implement majority of these, at least with respect to SDD and with respect to violation of code penalty to be deposited to IPF. These two changes we should unambiguously start being ensuring that with the compliances are done. One more change with respect to SEBI regulation in terms of extension of time period for adopting financial result, which was till 30th June, has been extended to 31st July. That means for all those companies, window will remain closed till 31st of July and even thereafter for the June quarter until they announce that result. So this time window closure is the longest in the history. Another changes which they made with respect to preferential allotment with respect to promoters or preferential allotment with respect to investors. And there are several cases which say that if there is any insider who is aware about a preferential allotment getting done, being made, is proposed to be made, till it is announced to public, it is UPSI. And if anybody deals in the shares while in possession of such information, it is also a violation of insider trading regulation. So if your company is in talks with investors or with promoter to raise some capital by way of preferential allotment to promoter or to the investors, although SAST has been relaxed to the extent of 10% for the promoter and no limit for the other investor if for distressed company. So SAST is relaxed, but PIT is not relaxed if you are aware about this information. This particular transaction of preferential allotment, whoever gets the shares allotted in his name, he will not be charged with insider trading regulation. This is what July 2019's amendment of insider trading regulation schedule B indicates us, that since this is a regulated transaction, therefore this transaction per se will not have a question. But those who are aware about this information and dealing in this shares while in possession of this information, or sharing this information on WhatsApp or through any other media, then it can be a problem. So these are some cautionary and some updates with respect to what is happening with respect to insider trading. As far as these sessions goes, these were the subjects which we have dealt with in last 8 sessions, and today the 9th session where we will discuss again practical aspects of UPSI and SDD. So UPSI is the core or the nucleus of this entire insider trading, prohibition of insider trading regulation. And I have discussed many, maybe 30, 40 cases or 50 cases over last 9 Fridays. However, there was a suggestion made by few participants that can we take some hypothetical cases and run through as to what will be, when it will be considered as UPS and when SDD will be triggered and all of that. And so in today's session, we will discuss about some 6-7 cases and what will be the answer with respect to practical scenarios. So we have discussed a lot of principles, but if we apply those principles to real life, how do we apply those principles, that we will study. Before moving further, since we are, many of you have attended 3, 4, 5, 7, some people have attended even 8 sessions consecutively. I wish to conduct one poll to just to get a feel as to what is just to get a poll with respect to compliance level and with respect to some of the understandings with respect to insider trading regulation. So
Right.
can we have poll, Narendra? First poll, and Narendra will share one poll details in front of you, and you can select whatever is your answer. This answer will remain confidential. We will not come to know who has answered what, but we will get to know what is the trend or what is how the things are evolving.
In
Narendra, go ahead.
aggregate.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. So there are some questions appearing in front of your screen. You can select your answer. You can select your answer and submit. We can wait for 1 or 2 minutes, half a minute, and then we can see the result. So it was yes, no, and not applicable with respect to HDD, with respect to training to designated persons. And sometimes a pause is also necessary.
Yeah.
Narendra, can we see the result of the poll?
Has everybody put in their, oh,
Wow. So first question is whether HDD has been implemented. So 57% of the participants say yes, 21% of the participants say no, and 21% of the participants say not applicable. I will come to this not applicable. Let's move further as far as questions are concerned. Question number 2, whether annual and one-time data of designated person has been collected. So 71% says yes, and only 7% say no, and 21% consistently say not applicable. And do you feel designated person in your organization need training? 71% say yes, 7% say not required, and 21% says that not applicable. Now, let me first touch upon what is this not applicable, because let me highlight to you that it is not only listed companies, but even practicing company secretaries or practicing chartered accountants or lawyers or merchant bankers or SEBI registered brokers or banks. All of us are fiduciaries or SEBI intermediaries, and we are also regulated by insider trading regulation. We also need to adopt code. We also need to have designated persons list. We also need to monitor their trades. We also need to ensure that there is a window closure when clients information, when our clients have closed the window, and so many things. Not only the professionals, but even core key suppliers or key distributors of listed companies, they also possess and handle UPSI of listed companies. And therefore, even though many of you, 21% of the participants have said that HDD is not applicable to me, and let me tell you that SEBI had also clarified that HDD, that is Structured Digital Database, is required to be maintained not only by listed companies but also by fiduciaries and intermediaries. That means all these categories of people who possess and handle UPSI, not of your own, but of your client companies or because of your acquaintance. Either they may be your client or you may be their client, but because of which you possess a UPSI of the company, then it is then all of us have to have HDD, and all of us have to have designated persons, and all of us need to ensure that none of our team member deals in the share. For example, I will tell you. So their Ambit is not a listed company. Ambit is a closely held company, which is a SEBI intermediary, and there was a charge on them that somebody working in their team shared UPSI, which was shared by listed company, that is Manappuram Finance. Manappuram Finance shared some UPSI with Ambit, and Ambit shared that with their clients, and they were charged with a penalty, and ultimately Ambit settled that case for 6 crores. Now imagine a situation if there is a if there is some big volatility in the share price of our client company, And SEBI, after 6 months or 8 months or after a year, starts investigating as to whether who all were in possession of some UPSI, and they ultimately come to us as to whether you were aware, as per the SDD of a listed company, your company's name appear, that the information was shared with you, who all were aware about this information, and whether they have dealt in the shares, and what is the mechanism which you have institutionalized in your company. It will be a very difficult situation. In last, and that is eighth webinar, I had also shared that there is a proposal that SEBI wants to amend the prohibition of insider trading regulation. Maybe this transaction may come in the next board meeting of SEBI, where they say that wherever companies have not put up effective mechanism to monitor UPSI, which has been institutionalized, which has been incorporated in April 2019, from April 2019 effective day, where all the companies and all fiduciaries and all intermediaries have to have an effective mechanism to ensure that there is no violation of insider trading regulation, be it with respect to sharing of UPSI or be it with respect to monitoring of trade and with respect to code of conduct and all of that. And we all know that intermediaries and fiduciaries are regulated. They have a separate code, that is Schedule C, which has been specified to be adopted. So all 21%, whoever have answered that it is not applicable, I would urge all of you that please refer to SEBI's informal guidance with respect to SDD requirement for SEBI intermediaries. Please refer to 9.2, which talks about code of conduct for all fiduciaries and intermediaries, and then do revisit your stand, that is whether it is really not applicable to you. So if handling of UPSI is applicable, then list of designated person is also necessary. And then obviously one thing which I have observed in this poll is that 71% of the attendees feel that designated persons need to be propagated about insider trading regulation. And I am glad that there is unanimity, almost a unanimity, with respect to this fact that this is not a compliance which company secretary or compliance officer can do while sitting at his desk and in his cabin by filling up some form. It is a compliance to be done majoritarily by the people who handle UPSI. And therefore, it is not a registrar and transfer agent, not a compliance officer, but actually designated persons and their relatives and even the promoter who handle UPSI, that for them it is more important. Let's go ahead. Now we will take up, Narendra, we can close that window if you have you closed that window so that everybody can see the PPT? Yeah. Okay, we will go to now situation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And if your company is a contracting company, then this example can be very, very relevant for you. Let's take an example that there is a company X, which is a listed company. And on 1st January 2020, it has applied for one tender. The tender value is almost approximate 50% of the turnover of company X. So it is definitely, if the contract is awarded to company X, it is definitely a material information, it's a price sensitive information. On 31st of January 2020, the price quoted by the other companies was lowest. And so L1 was not company X. But what happens is, because of some problem in the tender, authorities called X, that is X Limited, and then requested to match the bid of the L1. On 2nd February 2020, MD of X Limited asked team to relook at the document to match L1. And on 5th February, company X submitted documents matching lowest bid. And finally, on 2nd of March, finally the contract was awarded. So there was no L1 stage. Now in this case, the question is, and then company made a disclosure on 2nd March itself. The question is, on what date company X was required to enter UPSI in SDD. So there are many views on it, and somebody can say that I will put in every tender wherever I participate. But from various cases which we have read, be it Deep Industries case, which is a Facebook case, Bala Reddy case where a celebrated 40 crore penalty was levied, and many other cases which are in this category, all of those cases SEBI has said one thing, that whenever you are declared as L1, that's the day when the UPSI has begun, and therefore whoever are aware about the fact that they are L1, the person who receives this information should share this information in SDD that this is the UPSI, and these people, I have shared this information with these people. Now, in this case, the company X was not L1, but in spite of the fact that company was not L1, still client himself called him saying that you match the price of L1. Now, we all know in the business, whenever client asks you that you match this price, that means that you match this price and I will give you this contract. So, okay, so 31st was the date when client offered him that match L1 and I will give you the contract. But on 2nd Feb was the date when MD of the company, who is at the apex level at the administrative decision-making process, he says to his management, to his team, that rework on the document to match L1 price. And I think from 2nd February onwards, this becomes an SDD clearly, this becomes an UPSI clearly for X Limited. And that is the day on which MD should enter that this is a UPSI, and these are the people with whom I have shared this UPSI. And then if there is any problem in terms of SEBI asking this data, or somebody else asking this data, or my compliance officer having to close window for those people, he has to close window from that day for all those who are aware about this information and whoever's name appear in SDD. And what date intimation should be given to the stock exchange? So the intimation should be given on 2nd March only, because till the final contract is entered into, there is no definitive thing, and therefore even in Bala Reddy case or Deep Industries case or Man Industries case, nowhere SEBI has said that you have to inform stock exchange upon you getting declared as L1 or upon you getting call from client. Whenever you final contract is entered into, once you inform to stock exchange, that is good enough. That's not debated in any of the cases. Only thing is that this is a UPSI till then, and we have to close window. Compliance officer has to close window, and if compliance officer fails to close window, for example, in Walecha Engineering, compliance officer was penalized. In Satyam case, compliance officer was penalized for not closing window whenever there was a UPSI, and therefore this is case number 1 which I had shared. Now let's take another case. As we know, as compared to dividend, buyback has a tax arbitrage, and there has been increasingly a tendency to go for buyback because it saves a lot of, it's tax efficient. Now, as we know, buyback dividend is taxable in the hands of individual, and there's no dividend distribution tax. And generally, all promoter category people fall under a highest bracket, that is 42% tax, whereas buyback will be taxed at around 19-20%. And therefore, buyback is tax efficient, and therefore, number of buybacks are increasing. Now, if your company is planning for buyback, let's, for example, and hypothetical example, I will also take preferential allotment example. I will also take a lot of other examples which can be contemporary to our situation. So on 30th January 2020, listed company X, MD discusses with CFO and CS that we should do buyback. Okay. Now CFO is aware that there is a covenant in the agreement with the banker, and that whenever you want to touch capital clause, particularly repayment of capital, you need a prior permission from lender. He highlights that to the board. To the MD. But that's okay. But on 3rd of February, agenda prepared for board meeting, and board meeting is held on is scheduled to be held on 10th February 2020. 4th February, agenda was dispatched. 4th February, prior intimation to stock exchange was given that the company is proposing to do buyback. 10th February, board of directors approved buyback, and again intimation was given to stock exchange. Till this event. Now, from 30th January or from or on 4th of February, what date SDD would be entered into? That is a question which we will discuss as we complete this story. There are multiple questions in this story. Now, what happens is, as board is aware and as management is aware that apart from shareholders' approval, company also need to seek lenders' approval, and therefore, on 10th of February, CFO sends a letter requesting lender seeking his approval. And 17th February, lender informs CFO that they would be able to give consent to buyback. Now, lender might not have given consent because the debt equity ratio is falling beyond their tolerance limit, or it may be there may be some other reason. For example, the company might have opted for moratorium of repayment of loan, and now company is going for buyback. Now, the lender is objecting that how can you do it? There can be anything like that. So lender informs CFO that no, they won't be able to give consent. This is on 17th February. On 18th February, MD tries to convince bank, but he is not able to convince. Main promoter, if he's a promoter-driven organization, it's a management is a MD is separate and promoter is separate. For example, promoter tries to convince lender, but he is also not able to convince. And then finally, on 28th February, notice was sent for an urgent board meeting, and 21st February, board of directors approved cancellation of buyback and informed to stock exchange about same. Now, some questions which come up is that UPSI, you will start from what day? 30th January when MD discusses internally, or 3rd February when agenda was prepared, or on 5th February when agenda was dispatched. Now, somebody can take a view that till agenda is dispatched, there is no concreteness in this UPSI. Whereas SEBI in majority of the cases, and particularly in PC Jewelers case, it has been held that UPSI starts from internal discussion, and particularly when you are a promoter-driven organization, and if your MD and promoter is the same, then it will start on 30th January itself. If it is a separate institutional promoted company, then probably the answer can be different. That when the chairman in consultation with managing director finalizes that okay, this agenda should go, only then it should be entered into STD. But to be on safer side, when the internal discussion starts, and obviously such decisions MD cannot do unless and until he has consulted promoter, and therefore when MD discusses with CFO and CS, he has to make entries in SDD that this is a UPSI and which I have shared or which I am sharing with these people, and then CS will share with other people. He may share with the practicing company secretary to take a quote for acting as a scrutinizer. CFO may discuss with auditor to ascertain the eligibility, and so on and so forth. Since it is a listed company, there will be a merchant banker who will be involved, and so maybe 2-3 merchant bankers may be consulted for taking their quotes and all of that. So all of their names would appear in SDD. Second question, whether intimation from lender about not giving consent is UPSI, and whether lender's name need to be entered in SDD. Now this is very critical. Now let's look at this. First time when lender was informed, the UPSI which began on 30th of January became publicly available on 10th of February. And on 10th of February itself, CFO shared the letter with the banker. Before that, he had not shared. And therefore, there was no requirement of entering his name in SDD because the UPSI had already gone out, right? So it is no longer UPSI, it is generally available information. But when lender communicates on 17th February that he is not giving consent, so he is generating that UPSI about a listed company, and he is aware about this UPSI that the buyback cannot happen. And therefore, now, although technically speaking, under SDD 3.5, it requires a UPSI who had shared and with whom he had shared. Now, banker communicating to the company, how it will come in SDD, that's a matter of discussion in terms of technicality. But should our, because as Sunilji also mentioned beginning, and we have been discussing over last 8 series, that PIT is not a regulation where you can apply literal rule. You have to apply always purposive interpretation. We have to understand why this SDD has come into picture. Now SDD has come into picture in case of any, to track who all are aware about this UPSI, and therefore we should logically enter that this is the bank who shared this information with MD. So somehow some remark should be made that this bank is aware about this SDD. In fact, this UPSI has been generated by bank, and now MD is aware, promoter is aware, CFO is aware, CS is aware that bank has refused, right? So from that day itself, this becomes a second UPSI, and only when you actually make announcement on 21st of February. So from 17th February till 21st of February, this becomes a UPSI. And frankly speaking, in PC Jewelers case, PC Jeweler was levied a penalty even on in LODR, saying that when you received a rejection letter from a bank, you should have quickly informed to stock exchange. And why did you not inform to stock exchange? Now, having not informed to stock exchange, so best compliance is inform to stock exchange immediately. But many companies and many promoters may feel that I will convince banker and therefore I need not inform to stock exchange. Even if you take this call, let me tell you that at least close a window so that you do not have ramifications in terms of insider trading violation. In PC Jeweler case, what happened is some of the people closed with promoter group, they sold their shares when this information was with them, and they saved a loss of 5 crore rupees, and SEBI has impounded a penalty of 8 crore rupees, and therefore, strictly speaking, an intimation should go on 17th February. If the company has not informed on 17th of February, if they inform on 17th of February, from the time it is available, from the time they receive intimation from lender till actual dissemination happens to stock exchange, whatever number of hours or minutes, that is the UPSI. If the company holds on with this information saying that we will change, we will convince lender, we will give some additional collateral or something like that and get their consent, and if they choose not to inform to stock exchange, then definitely they have to close window. They have to inform everybody who are aware that you cannot share this UPSI with anybody unless and until you make a entry in SDD, unless and until there is a confidentiality agreement and all of that. So this is one very, very interesting and alarming situation. I will share case 3. Now this is about acquisition. And this will also be a scenario in today's time. And there we have already seen wherever the companies are in distress. SEBI has said that distress companies, and distress company does not mean, and company in IBC, distress has 3 parameters: that if you have already disclosed about the default, or your credit rating has been downgraded significantly to D, or if you are if you already have inter creditor committee, then you are a distress asset, a distress company. So there are already regulations which say that whenever there is a distress company, then they can issue shares even beyond triggering open offer, but without triggering open offer. So there can be an investor who can put in 25%, 30% in your company. You can make a preferential allotment, that too at a liberalized price. That is only last 2 weeks average. You can take as a price and you can make the allotment. Those regulations are there. Now in this change in those regulations, this case which I am proposing, listed company X. So everywhere we have kept company X as a listed company. Promoter had pledged his shares against the loan taken by company X, and due date for payment is so and so. The company is already a distressed company also, and now the promoter wants to ensure that he gets in money in the company, and company pays off some loans so that his pledged shares does not get encashed, or the pledge is not invoked. So on 5th of December, promoter of the company X starts discussion with investor of company Y, investor who is company Y, for investment up to 30% to preferential allotment. So promoter of listed company is talking to listed company, so investor company Y. 10th of December, they enter into a MOU between company X and company Y, and board of directors of Y approves the investment in company X. Agenda was sent for the board meeting approving preferential allotment on 6th of January. And now 9th of January, prior intimation was given to the stock exchange without intimation about the investor's name. Because when prior intimation goes, the name of investor may not go, and all those details go subsequently. So 14th of January, the board meeting where all the board meeting was held, and preferential allotment was approved subject to approval of shareholder. And immediately announcement was also made by the company about the proposed investment to be made by company Y up to 30% of the capital of company, subject to approval of shareholder at regulatory. So it will require in principle approval and all of that. Now the questions are would be on these issues as to at what time would be the UPSI and what time should be entered in SDD. Narendra, can we have poll on this? Let's see how the audience feels like. What's audience view on this? Narendra? Hello?
Narendra, I'll just call him.
Yeah. No.
No, is that?
This is the result, Narendra. We need a second poll.
Can we do the second poll?
Yeah, I'm doing it. Wait a minute.
So the questions would be, what is the date when the UPSI should be entered? So question number 1, UPSI about preferential issue shall be entered in SDD on which of the below dates? 5th December, that is the start date of discussion with the investor. 10 December, when MOU is signed. 31st December, when investor board approves the investment approves the making of investment, or 6th January, when agenda for preferential allotment was set. So this is questions for you. Let's see what the poll says. And the second question is, Narendra, we may need 1 minute for audience to digest the question and answer. These are little technical questions. So second question is, on which of the below dates UPSI become generally available? On 9th of January, that is after giving prior intimation to stock exchange, or on 14th of January, when the name of the investor was disclosed to stock exchange. Let's see what our audience feels.
Makaranji, shall I end polling?
You can end polling and show the result.
Yes.
Interesting. So I was thinking on these lines. UPSI about preferential issue when it should be entered in SDDs. How well read our audience is, and I'm either it is 5th December or it is 10th of December. 5th December, 29% of the people say that 5th December, and 10th December, 70% of the people say, and for 31st December and 6th January there is no voting. On second question, on which of the below dates UPSI, now this is a 50-50. 9 January after giving prior intimation, or 14 January. Now let me share with you, this is a little dicey question and dicey answer. Let me share with you, in cases wherever there are two entities which are very professionally driven and professionally managed entities, SEBI has been consistently taking a stand that MOU will be the date of start date of a SDD. But wherever there are entities which are promoter driven organizations, for example, in case of Gammon, or for example, in case of Satyam, or for example, in case of India Bulls, SEBI said that when two managing directors of two companies talk to each other on a call, or on a personal chat or personal meeting, that day itself is the start of UPSI. So whether it will be 5th December or 10th December, it will depend on what type of companies are we referring to. If company Y is also promoter driven and company X is also promoter driven, and if those promoter of same group, or for example, those companies are of same group, then definitely when 5th December, when the first discussion happens, that day itself will become a UPSI. But in otherwise, MOU would be the date for UPSI. As far as the second question is concerned, and 50-50 is a fantastic tie situation. Now what happens is, yes, on 9 January, public is aware that there is a preferential allotment, and therefore the UPSI has ended there. But who is the investor also makes big difference. For example, in Jio case, the first investor was Facebook, and they invested some 9,000 crore. Now the name Facebook also had a lot of value, and if the name is very important, then even SEBI would consider that 14 January, the information is not generally available, and whoever is aware that Facebook is investing in your company, or such celebrated investor is investing in your company, it will give rise to further hike, may give rise to further hike in the price. And therefore, although preferential issue information is available to public on 9th January, who is investing is also an important situation. And I think 14th January will be a conclusive date. If it is a celebrated or a big brand or it's a strategic investment, if it is coming in, then definitely 14th January can be the right answer. Otherwise, if it is a not so well-known name, then 9 January can also be a good answer. This is my, so it's a very, PIT is always very subjective. You read two cases and you find that how come SEBI has spared him or SAT has spared him and not spared in some other matters. And interestingly, Narendra, we can close the window with respect to court and we can move further. Interestingly, there was an article in Money Control. Some lawyer had written that SEBI is not able to penalize, SEBI is not able to find enough weapons, enough proofs to penalize the people, and SAT has been setting aside various orders. Many of you might have read that article. It, out of curiosity, you can do a Google and find out. You can do a Google with the word "is SEBI toothless?" But my personal opinion is that it is not so. And in fact, since 2019, there have been so many changes that SEBI has a lot of more weapons, and the number of times SEBI will be successful, even in SAT. That is, whenever, even if the matter is appealed in SAT, the order which will be upheld will go up drastically. Just to give you a statistics, in last 1 year there were 9 matters which went up to SAT, and 4 matters have been set aside and 5 matters have been upheld. So it is still a 60-40 kind of a scenario. Just to give you some more inputs with respect to PIT regulation. Now we'll go to one more scenario. Scenario number 4, sale of shares by the promoter. Now these are also very, very classic examples, and I have been receiving some calls as to whether it is an SDD. Now let's look at the question. 1st January, whether it will be required to be entered in SDD, whether it is UPSI, and whether it is required to be entered in SDD. So 1st January, an unlisted company, promoter company of listed company X. So listed company is Constant X. So promoter started internal discussion for the sale of shares, some of the shares. Board of directors of promoter company approved this investment, and then company X was internally infrequently traded, and therefore it took some time for disposing it off. And since it was less than 1%, therefore disclosure did not happen at all. It happened directly when company disclosed this shareholding pattern, quarterly shareholding pattern on 21st of April 2020. So now question is whether it was a UPSI and whether it was required to be entered. Now Jagran Prakashan case very clearly tells us that if the volume of shares getting sold by the promoter, if it is going to be significantly higher, then even if the percentage is less than 2%, it will be considered as UPSI, and anybody aware about this information will be treated or will be considered to have knowledge of the UPSI, and therefore can be charged for insider trading. So it is a UPSI. If the promoter is disposing of 5%, 6%, 10% shares, then definitely it is a UPSI. But even if it is less than 5%, and if it is frequently traded and the volume is not so great, then promoters selling shares can be a UPSI even otherwise. Now the next question is, this is not a UPSI about the company. This is UPSI which a promoter company is triggering with respect to securities. So I will also remind you that in 2015, when PIT regulations got replaced, they have added word UPSI with respect to company or with respect to securities. Particularly, this word was added in the context of Jagran Prakashan case, and therefore it is a UPSI. Now, whether promoter needs to update SDD of listed company. This is a very, very interesting question. And my view is that promoter by default, de facto, is a designated person as per 9.4, regulation 9.4. Now he is a designated person. Now he is aware that he, in the sense the promoter company, is aware that they are trying to dispose of some shares and they are contemplating, and which can be a UPSI. So with whomever they share this information, logically speaking, they should update the data in SDD, so that if SEBI comes in SDD of a listed company, so that because in their capacity as a designated person, they have to update that, look, this is the information and I am sharing this information with my company's board, or I'm sharing this with my broker, or I'm engaging some investor relationship manager who will talk to few investors because it is a infrequently traded company, and talk to few investors and get the match the pair done. If I'm engaging any intermediary, all of their names would also appear, so that I will inform them that, look, this is a UPSI and you should not be sharing this with anybody unless there is a need to know. And then obviously all those bodies would also be regulated by their own code of conduct. So this was about this was also a very common scenario which is happening. Promoters are acquiring shares. Some of the companies promoters are also diluting shares because they want to put in this money into some other venture or some other listed company of theirs. So there may be portfolio adjustments in the promoters, but it will become a UPSI. I'm taking next case. Sunil ji, I may need 5 minutes more. So the question answer session will probably get shrink little bit. I have 2-3 more cases, situations to be discussed. I hope it is fine with you, Sunil ji.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Situation 5, sale of subsidiary. Now this is, can everybody keep them mute? Yeah. Situation 5, sale of subsidiary. Now this is also, what is happening is, since COVID-19 period, cash is king, and conserving cash and using cash very wisely, judiciously is very, very important. Therefore, I have taken all those probabilities. So, for example, in this case which I am presenting to you, MD of a listed company X called CFO and CS, saying that we have a particular vertical which is not doing good, and therefore we should get rid of some non-performing assets, and those assets are held in the form of subsidiaries, and therefore we will dispose of some subsidiaries which are not doing good. Now, so it is exiting some vertical which the company is is carrying out through their subsidiary. 1st May, MD discussed. 5th May, agenda was dispatched. 15th May, board approved the proposal and informed to stock exchange. On 14th June, shareholder resolution was passed, and so forth. So on 15th of May, stock exchange was already informed that there is such proposal that we would look for disposal of some of the non-performing assets, and this is very common in many listed companies. And so on 14th of June, the resolution is already passed, right? Now 20th of June, board delegated this power to a committee. And on 1st of July 2019, chairman of the committee started discussion with company A for the sale of this subsidiary. MOU was entered on 5th July. And on 31st of July, company A conducted a due diligence and they were not satisfied and they cancelled the MOU. On 2nd September, chairman of the committee started discussion with company B. And on 5th September, MOU was entered. On 30th September, final agreement. So this time they were lucky and they entered into a definitive share transfer or share purchase agreement between the company B and X Limited. And then this subsidiary definitive agreement was entered on 30th September and intimated to stock exchange. Now this is very common scenario that it is not necessary that every time when you start discussion, the deals may go through. So the question is, UPSI about disposal should have been entered in SDD on which of the below dates? 1st May, that is when the discussion started, or on 5th of January, when the agenda for the board meeting was disposed of. Again, as I told you, if you are a institutionally or a broadly professionally managed company, then 5th May can be your answer. Otherwise, if it is a family managed company, 1st May can be your answer. That on 1st May, when MD discusses this, that's an SDD, that's a UPSI and will require to be entered in SDD. So MD will have to first enter into SDD about the names of CS and CFO, CS and CFO with their respective teams, and auditors, practicing company secretaries, intermediaries, and so on and so forth. When committee, so from 1st May 2019 till it got informed to stock exchange, that is 14 June, this for UPSI was there. Then what happens is, so thereafter it was no longer a UPSI. So this information is available at public domain that companies in trying to dispose of some of its subsidiaries which are non-performing assets, the names are also identified with respect to which subsidiaries they are trying to dispose of. But whether they will be able to dispose of, who will be the buyer, what price, what terms, all of that is unknown. So when committee started discussion with buyer, whether it would become a UPSI again, the answer is yes, it will again become a UPSI. And if yes, whether the entry in SDD was to be done, each time committee started discussion. So for example, on 1st of July, chairman of that committee started discussion with investor buyer A, right? And but on 31st of July, buyer A said that no, I'm not interested. So this UPSI started on 1st July in SDD, then all of their names would appear. And on 31st of July, this UPSI, although did not got disseminated to the stock exchange, it is no longer UPSI because that information has died, that transaction is not going through. And therefore, your SDD should mention the date. Now this UPSI has expired. This is no longer a UPSI. So whoever were aware that A is interested in buying that subsidiary, if they sell subsequently, when the MOU is terminated, then it is no longer a UPSI in the ecosystem. And even if they buy or sell, SEBI will ask for SDD's data, and SEBI will come to know that there was no UPSI in the ecosystem. And therefore, maintaining a very, very effective SDD can be very helpful for any inquiries which SEBI may undertake going forward. So this is very important. Now, story going further, 2nd September, chairman started discussion with company B. So again, second UPSI. So in this case, on same transaction, there were 3 times UPSI got generated. 2 times UPSI got disseminated to the stock exchange, and at one time UPSI was not disseminated to the stock exchange. Still, it was not UPSI thereafter, and all of that needs to be updated. So again, third UPSI will get generated, company B, and then whoever are aware about this transaction, all of their names from time to time, whenever you are sharing this UPSI, all of that will have to be entered in SDD and enter into confidentiality agreement and all of that. This is also very, very critical, cancellation of license. And this is the second last question. So maybe by 6:10, I will conclude. 1st January 2019.
Please don't worry about the time, Makaranji, because
Yeah.
I think these hypothetical situations,
Yeah.
they are a little more educative to my humble submission, because what happens is by the time a matter goes up to a court,
Yeah.
it is a huge amount of time in our system.
Yeah.
So if we can debate issues relating to so-called, into inverted commas, hypothetical situations, that is
Yeah.
probably a whole lot more sort of
Yeah.
informative than waiting for decisions to come from courts. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is very common. If you are in a regulated business, for example, maybe a FMCG or agrochemical. So yesterday, Patanjali launched a medicine. Patanjali is an unlisted company as of now. But if had it been a listed company, or Glenmark launched a medicine, and then there have been some debates as to whether the price hike was justifiable and all. When you are in a regulated business, Patanjali example will be most appropriate because they launched a medicine and subsequently there were question marks with respect to the medicines, its authenticity, so on and so forth. So when you are in a regulated business, in pharma business, in agrochemical business, in hospital business, in airline business, you are a regulated business. And any regulator issuing you show cause notice has to be taken it very, very sensitively. And it needs to be evaluated. So on 1st Jan, listed company X, which is in regulated business, receives a show cause notice from a regulator relating to some violation of some rules. And on 10th of January, a reply is given by the company to the show cause notice, which is very standard. You talk to any large companies, they would have so many show cause notices with respect to Legal and Metrology Act or many other acts or GST or income tax or so on and so forth. So show cause notice is not very uncommon, and not every show cause notice is UPSI. That's also very clear. So on 10th, 1st January, they received show cause. 10th, they replied. On 1st March, this becomes very serious. On 1st March, another letter from the same regulator, they said that we are not satisfied with your reply, and hence they are terminating a license and you stop taking any new contracts immediately. So definitely, if this restriction is not lifted, there are serious constraints in terms of the functioning of the company. On 5th of March, company X sent a request letter for a personal hearing, which is very, very logical. 1st April, personal hearing happened. So the regulator will also may not give hearing immediately. So he gave after 20-25 days. So 1st April, there was a hearing. The regulator was not still convinced. And regulator then said that you are given 6 months time You can wrap up your existing contracts, but you are not supposed to take any new contracts. And therefore, we understand that there are customers and there are some supplies, but you can finish those, but not thereafter. And this news, the company has not disclosed to stock exchange. And this news got leaked. And on 2nd April, this came in Economic Times first page, second page, or third page, or Money Control, or any other Cobra news channels, or anything like that. It got posted on media, electronic, print, or digital, or whatever media. 10th April, Company X receives official letter from a regulator, wherein so on 1st April there was a hearing and there was a discussion that's what the order is going to come. But a final order, official order, came on 10th of April. And then on 11th of April, Company X made a disclosure to stock exchange. Now the question is, company waited for regulators for finally the matter till the final matter gets concluded. So in this case, some questions. UPSI about show cause notice should have been entered in SDD on which day? 1st January when the first show cause notice was served, or on 1st March when the second letter came, when actually they were asked to stop taking any new contracts. Now there have been many cases on this subject matter, and particularly 63 Moon, which was FTIL, and NSCL case, or Jubilant, Jubilant Lifestyle, where there were import duties were hiked from China side, or NDTV, where they received demand notice of 450 crore from income tax, or with respect to Yes Bank, when they received some RAR report, risk analysis report from RBI. All those matters, it's very, very clear. If you read those judgments, it is coming up very clearly that show cause notice per se may not become UPSI. But if the show cause is telling, is giving you to do certain thing or restricting you to do certain thing, which will impact your business substantially, then it becomes a UPSI definitely. Frankly speaking, then you should inform to stock exchange immediately. So 1st March will be the date on which intimation should have been given to stock exchange. And from the time that letter is received till the time you inform to stock exchange, it remains a UPSI in the ecosystem. And all of those who are aware about this information, the window should be closed. It should be sensitized that you are not supposed to deal in this share. You are not supposed to share this information to anybody, not even to media, right? And then the dissemination of that immediately to the stock exchange was also very, very necessary. Let me also remind you that both NDTV, both Yes Bank, and both Jubilant Lifespace were penalized for not informing definitive letters which were received from regulator, which would have serious impact on your business, to stock exchange. So if the company has not informed, then all of these cases, they have levied penalty on the companies for not informing such a regulator action which is taken. And whatever is the delay, for example, in same Jubilant, there was another case where they had two subsidiaries which were contributing 7 and 10% of the consolidated turnover, and they had received some US FDA sanctions from in US for those subsidiaries, and there was a delay of 2 days. Now they said that okay, there is a time lag, and that is a subsidiary, so they will send information. It took some time, and it was so on 10th, say for example, they received a letter. On 12th, company informed to stock exchange. So even if there is a delay of 1.5 days, that time window has to be closed. That we need to remember in this case. Now, whether any other action is required to be taken, obviously yes. Now let's observe here that this information got leaked in media, and therefore if any UPSI gets leaked in media, company also needs to conduct an inquiry as to how UPSI got leaked in media, and a report of that inspection or investigation report. Now this is an internal inquiry which company has to conduct. Take the report to say audit committee, to the board, and to the SEBI also. The inquiry can come to the conclusion that there is no leak of UPSI from our side. But what is the method you adopted, and how did you arrive at this conclusion? And what is your conclusion? That inquiry report has to go to SEBI. SEBI has still not started sending notices. Neither they have instructed the stock exchanges to send such notices so far. Whenever any news appears in media, immediately stock exchange sends you a letter saying that why have you not informed it under regulation 30, but they have still not started asking as to whether you have started leak of, if it is appearing, whether it is appearing in your SDD, and if it is appearing in your SDD, have you started with inquiry, and please submit your inquiry report. But SEBI can start asking that maybe 6 months down the line, 8 months down the line, or maybe a year down the line. But if we don't have report, then we will be in trouble, and it will be violation of regulation. And violation of regulation can attract stringent penalties on the company. And this is very interesting. This is the last case which I am sharing. Situation 7, again a regulatory action. We observed that RBI has floated a concept paper with respect to housing finance companies in terms of regulating their business with respect to a lot of aspects, particularly with respect to asset liability mismatch, with respect to their exposure with some with some groups and with developers. If they are financing to developer, and if they are financing the same developers flat buyers, what are the restriction and all of that. So assume that if it is a law, if not a consent paper, and if it is a law, and if that is if that amendment happens in those prudential norms on 10th of January, June, and on 15th of June, that HFC starts evaluation process about assessing the impact, because these are not the amendment which would say that you are suspended from giving housing loan. They are putting some restrictions. There some ratios have changed, some thresholds have changed, and which would definitely impact your business. So that would mean that you cannot finance developer and a home buyer at the same time, or even if you finance, you should have so much restriction. Then you have to assess how much portfolio of yours currently fall under this category, what would be the impact, and all of that. So company engaged somebody, some expert professional, and company received report on 30th of June. And on 6th of July, agenda was sent to the board to discuss this impact. It is not necessary that professionals report should be adopted as it is. And on 15th of July, board discussed the impact and made that about that disclosure to the stock exchange. So now the question comes is, when does UPSI start? Whether on 10th of June when the law changed, or on 15th of June when company started evaluation, or on 6th of July when the agenda was shared, or on 15th of July when the board discussed the impact. So again, there have been many cases on this, particularly Manappuram finance case, where there was change with respect to asset cover versus finance for gold financing companies by RBI, and they engaged Ambit, and Ambit shared that report with some of its clients, approximate 1900 plus 2000 clients. Few of them were mutual funds, and there were few celebrated few mutual funds who acted on it. So IDFC mutual funds case is available for our study, and that IDFC mutual fund case tells us that SEBI in that case said that when there was an amendment is okay. So every amendment need not be UPSI. But when there was an amendment, and when you internally felt that now I need to assess an impact, it is going to impact my earning capacity, that day it's a UPSI. So on 15th of June, when, say for example, risk officer or compliance officer highlights this to the managing director, or managing director or anybody working in the board decides that this is going to be very serious, and let's assess what's the impact. So 15th of June will be was considered in Manappuram case as the start date of UPSI. And then when the report was adopted by the board, that is on 15th of July, the information was sent to stock exchange. That's perfectly fine. However, from 15th of June to 15th of July, this remains a UPSI. So I am highlighting every amendment we need to track. Every show cause notice we need to track. It is not necessary that every amendment or every show cause notice will become a UPSI. For example, if you receive a show cause notice with respect to IPF transfer, it may not be UPSI, because even if you get a penalty, it may be few lakh rupees penalty, and it may not impact your earning, although there can be questions on your compliance level. But in IPF, there are so many complications, as we know. So it is not necessary that every penalty or every show cause notice is UPSI, and every amendment need not be UPSI. But if it is a serious amendment, and if it is impacting your earning capacity, if it impacts your business, then definitely it is a UPSI, and we need to enter that in SDD. That's it from my side. And over to you, Sunilji. It was very complex discussion.
Yeah.
I hope I am able to throw some light on this, and with a reasoning. That's the idea.
Very correct. Very correct. Now, I'm sure that the people who did attend have benefited immensely. And there are
your video is not on.
Sorry?
Your
My video is not on. Okay, let me start the video. My face is certainly not as attractive as yours is. So, okay. Now let me talk to you about the queries that we have already received. We probably will not have time to walk through the thing again in terms of the demo, but I think people did get the message. So we will come to the demo next time. And first of all, let's handle the queries. Rachna has asked the query. Now, when there is a long window closure, which will again be closed for Q1 results from 1st July, so no need to again close windows if any buyback preference issue, etc. is being considered. In this case, if in the agenda we say evaluation of a proposal, then the formal approval is taken up in the subsequent board meeting. Will SDD entry be made in the first instance as only evaluation is proposed in the agenda?
So there are multiple questions, and I would like to clarify on few points.
Huh.
Not on 1st July, but on 30th of June, the window needs to start a close. Window closure needs to start.
I thought it was 29th.
No, 30th.
Okay, the day before night.
Yeah, no, the last day.
Okay.
So 30th will be the start for the next window closure. So first window is already closed. For example, if in your case, your financial result for the financial year have not been adopted, it remains closed, and 31st July is the last date for holding. So, for example, if you hold board meeting on 15th of July, I have not looked at calendar. Hopefully, it is not Sunday. But anyway, so for example, 15th July, you hold, and on 15th of July, your first window which was closed. After that, from 48 hours, and I please remember my advice on assimilation of the market. So 48 hours when the market is open, till then window will be closed, first window closure. Second window, which is starting from 30th of June, will remain closed till again that quarter's results are announced, and 48 hours after that, working 48 hours. And third is with respect to preferential allotment. Now, what happens is if you are doing preferential allotment, not everybody is aware about this preferential allotment, and they should not be logically that to whom you are allotting, what's the quantum. Only few people are aware, and therefore that SDD, the entry will have to be made in the SDD, and all of those who are aware about this information, a window needs to be closed for them, and you need to tell them that look, you cannot trade because it may get prolonged even after your June quarter results get published, and this is a separate UPSI which if SEBI wants to investigate tomorrow, that who all were aware about this preferential allotment, then our SDD should be able to support or should be able to answer this. So the 3 window closures will happen, although effectively the meaning would be same for the first 2 window closures, because in first 2 you close it for every designated person. In this third window, UPSI, you close window only for selected people who are aware about this information.
SDD, there is a question about the SDD entry.
Yeah.
In this case, in the agenda, we say evaluation of a proposal, then the formal approval is taken up in the second the subsequent board meeting. Okay. Will SDD entry be made in the first instance as only evaluation is proposed?
It is very, very subjective, but if it is a discussion, then there is, from the time the internal discussion starts, you have to make entry in SDD, because when you are discussing proposal, the proposal will not be in air. There must be some concrete reasoning for doing preferential allotment. First of all, you are coming out with the preferential allotment. You will see, even if you make announcement that you are raising debt, that also gives rise to your spike in price. You don't know from which lender, what value, still it rise price. So the fact that you are raising capital or you are contemplating raising capital itself is an UPSI and will have to be entered in SDD is my submission. In the first instance itself.
Which means at the time of the first discussion of the board.
Yeah.
Great. I think today the complexity of the discussion or the issues raised with poll feature, that poll feature has been appreciated.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow, thanks very
much. Brijbala is being very kind to both of us.
Thanks.
I don't know why I am deserving of the kindness except for being the host. And on my side, I think Narendra deserves the kindness. But thank you very much, Brijbalaji. I am glad that you find this useful, and I hope that as we continue forward, you will bring along a few more of your colleagues to to attend and encourage the continuance with more questions. You are usually one of the people who does ask rather meaningful questions. So today we are missing a question from you.
And even from my side, my research team, the thanks goes to them. They
Yes,
help me read each and every judgment, order, amendment, news, and we have, deliberate hours, hours we discuss whenever I personally get time. So they are very kind. Vallabh Joshi and Dipti Joshi, two Joshis who lead this SEBI related research in our office.
wonderful.
They have never been on the face in this seminar, but they have been contributing a lot for all this. So thanks to them also.
Maybe you can bring them along on one of the occasions.
Sure.
And over the next couple of sessions, I think one thing one can promise, and I will ask you whether I can make that promise, is that the recent, that means yesterday's amendments that SEBI has made, I am sure that somewhere down the road in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we will get some whiff of
Correct.
what they actually exactly are. And you may need to devote at least one session to discussing those particular amendments themselves.
I agree.
Yeah, and if there is, Vallabh Joshi is attending today, sir. Thank you.
Vallabh is there.
Yeah.
Vallabh, can you come on video? You can say hello to everyone.
Yes, sir. Just a minute.
That is Vallabh. Oh, how nice, Vallabh. That is him.
So he has been very instrumental in all our research activities, particularly with respect to SEBI regulations.
Wonderful.
All
Yeah.
SEBI prosecutions, adjudication, settlement, Supreme Court, all of that, thanks to Vallabh and Dipti. Thank you, Vallabh.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being there, Vallabh.
Thank you, sir.
You had some more work cut out for you now that SEBI has decided to make some changes yesterday.
Yeah. I have already put on some of my amendments on the group which we have. So after the call again, there will be some discussions. So some interesting points for the next session are also available now.
Very good. Narendra, would you like to? Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Vallabh.
Vallabh.
Thank you.
I'm going to try and invite my colleague Narendra to come and show his face on the screen if he will consent.
No, so my camera is some bandwidth problem.
There are some bandwidth problems. I can
Yes,
understand the bandwidth problems, Narendra. Next time you can make sure that the bandwidth problems are ironed out so that you can actually show yourself. But
Great.
thank you, everybody. I think today we can come to a close. You will permit us, as at least we're about 5 minutes away from the scheduled closure time, which is not too far away. So maybe if that's okay with you, Makar?
If you have 2 minutes,
Sure.
I just wanted to share some inputs on that Manappuram article, which said that is SEBI toothless with respect to imposing penalties from insider trading. And my research tells me that it is not so, because from first of all, in last few years, as I said, 5 cases SEBI's order has been upheld, whereas only 4 cases it has been set aside. And in none of those 4 cases, there was a trading, or majority of those cases, I would say that there was no trading. For example, in Piramal, there was a case, or AstraZeneca case, there was no trading. Only window was not closed, but nobody traded. And therefore there was no substantive violation. In Gammon case, when SEBI's order was set aside by SAT, Gammon's promoter had CDR issue, that is debt restructuring, and therefore SAT found that it was brighter than bright, But so these are exceptions. And number of cases getting settled with SEBI is much higher,
Very
higher
large.
than getting appealed in SAT. And therefore the penalty is getting imposed. In Bala Reddy case, 40 crore penalty. In Aurobindo Pharma case, 3 times penalty was levied. So humongous penalties are getting imposed. So I don't think, and all this happened before 2019 amendment. And now after 2019 amendment, SEBI has designated persons at list with them, 2 levels below CEO and MD's list, which is shared with depositories, from where they can track each trade. Am I audible?
Sure.
Yeah. So each trade they can track with the help of depositories. They have SDD implemented in the companies, from where they can find out who all were aware about this information. There is a media who is supporting them with respect to unearthing the various informations which is actually not disclosed to the stock exchange, right? And therefore there is a huge data now available. All designated persons, their immediate relatives, their financial dependents, their material financial relationship, their educational background, their past employers, all of that data is available at fingertip now, and their trades are available at fingertip with the help of depository, where they are not going to wait for Friday to Friday bin post. And therefore, there are two things which they have to establish. One is there is a UPSI. Second, the person was in possession of UPSI. And third, there is a trade. So all of this is so easily digitized now that definitely, even if we have seen 4 cases, that is 60-40, going forward, SAT we'll see a different scenario going forward. So this was my submission with respect to, so let's not take it very lightly that SEBI is not successful in levying penalties.
No, if I may humbly, very
Yeah.
humbly
Yeah.
submit for your consideration, and you can say,
Yeah.
given the nature of the regulation now,
Yeah.
the first point of penalty will simply be existence of STD or not. That simple sanity check alone will be entitling SEBI to levy a penalty of 10 lakhs.
Yeah.
It's really not even a question of whether do you have a code of conduct, nothing.
Yeah.
The simplest first thing that they will ask is, do you have an SDD in existence? Whether you do or you do not, if you ask for time even
Yeah.
that in itself is a disclosure of non-compliance.
Absolutely. Violation of code is a violation of regulation, and this is particularly coming from regulation itself. So
Yes.
SDD is a violation of regulation. And as shared last time, some participants might not be there last time. So for their awareness, there is a discussion paper on strengthening enforcement, where SEBI said that we have been levying penalties with respect to those individuals who have been trading from the company. But what about company? The company needs to ensure that there is an effective mechanism to ensure that there is no insider trading. And if company fails to implement effective mechanism, we want to penalize companies for trading done by insiders, that how information got leaked. And if then, now obviously it is not necessary that for every trade they will penalize us. There is an opportunity of being heard. And if you are able to prove that, look, we had a very robust mechanism of SDD, we have very robust mechanism of entering into confidentiality agreement. We monitor every Friday to Friday very first position and take it to the audit committee if we observe anything, and so on and so forth. And if you are able to establish that we have mechanism, and then somebody traded, we found that out, we took it to audit committee, SEBI will definitely not levy penalty. But SEBI found it out, and companies not finding that out, then companies will get penalized, and that's what the Justice Dave's report is suggesting us very clearly. So it can come up 2 years later for the lapses of today.
Activity done now.
Yeah.
In fact, the timing from April 19 till now, and the delay in implementation of SDD is in itself cause for real concern, and it should be seen as a cause for real concern, hopefully by the companies in the country which are listed, as also the fiduciaries, like you said. And that is the subject of the next Friday session. We will come back with more details in the coming week. Is that okay? Now we can